My name is Keith. I'm a meditation teacher. That's why you're here. This channel is all about teaching meditation and the various different things we can do with it, the various different ways it can benefit us. So I like to kind of reference this channel as like a little meditation cookbook, right? And you got to pick a recipe that works for you. So each week we're doing different stuff, right? Universe Gamer, thanks for subscribing, man. Appreciate that. So each week we're going to do something different, see what connects with you. But if you've never meditated before, don't worry about it. This is actually a super great topic to come into. And if you are a seasoned veteran meditator, then hopefully you're going to learn some new stuff today. Yevi, am I saying that right? Hello, how are you doing? Dorothy, what's up? Welcome back. So we'll start off today by explaining what is meditation. We'll look at, what does that even mean? What does it mean to meditate? What does it do for us? And how do we do it? We'll start with a very simple breathing meditation. That's what normally people start with. And then we're going to get into our topic for today. And our topic for today is one that we have done before, but I've gotten some requests to do it again. And it's actually a really great one. I love doing it. It's all about turning some of the routine activities that we're already doing into a meditative practice. And you're probably like, whoa, I don't know what you're talking about. Well, we're going to go into that. But one of the prerequisites for this particular special meditation that we're going to do is that you have a glass of water. It doesn't have to be a giant jug of water. It could just a little bit. You're going to take a couple sips. All right. Magdalena, hello. So if you have a glass of water next to you already, awesome. If not, now would be probably a good time to go get one. And for those who trickle in later, I'll mention it again. We're not going to do that meditation just yet, but we will be doing that. We're going to do like a mindful drinking water meditation. It's cool. You'll see. Margaret, good morning. Margaret's holding things down in Australia, so it's morning for her. Okay, so I just dropped something. What is meditation, right? So if this is your first time meditating, well, maybe you haven't really ever, no one's ever explained to you like, well, what's it all about, right? So meditation, we generally get into it to relax, right? It's probably why you're here, is to relax. It's really good for that, right? But meditation, the way that it relaxes us is at a very deep level. So I like to compare it to training our body because we're more familiar with training our body than we are with training our mind. So if you were going to train to run a race, right? If you're going to train to run a race, you're not a runner, right? You want to run the old 5K, maybe for charity or something, right? Well, you're going to have to train a little bit to be able to complete the 5K if you're not a runner, right? At first, you might only be able to run around the block and then you're exhausted. Your muscles are hurting the next day. You're laid up on the couch. Right? I'm speaking from personal experience, of course. But over time, through training, if you were to run a little bit every day, well, then you're going to get a little faster. You can run a little longer, right? Your muscles will not need as much time to kind of rejuvenate, right? To repair themselves, right? You're becoming stronger. You're becoming a better runner, right? Running is becoming more natural to your body because your body is becoming more familiar with what it means to run. Now, the same is true with our mind, right? We can train our mind to become familiar with different feelings and thoughts, right? So, for example, if we're here to relax, right? We want to meditate to relax. Well, meditation isn't like just pulling relaxation out of nowhere, right? What's happening is you are training your mind to relax by focusing on your breath, right? Super focused on your breath. And then over time, your mind becomes very familiar with relaxation. So much so that it becomes easier for you to relax. Just like it becomes easier for you to run a race if you train, right? To get up to that point, right? So meditation is all about training our mind. And the way that we train our mind is with familiarization. Familiarization is key to anything we want to learn in our lives, whether it's meditation, whether it's, writing or math. Like, we have to learn all this, and it takes repetition. It takes time to make our mind and body familiar with this activity so it comes easy to us. Ellen, hello. Ellen, I'm from New York. That's where I was born. I'm in Colorado now. Okay, so that's all well and good, but first we have to learn how to relax, right? Because when our mind's super busy, what's happening? We're having trouble focusing. We're getting annoyed at things that, might not normally annoy us, right? We're really stressed out. We're getting angry at people that we love, right? So when our mind is kind of all over the place, or stressed or anxious or angry, well, all the other things we want to do with it don't seem to kind of fall into place, right? So the first step for meditation is kind of like a two-step process. And step one is learning how to relax our mind a little bit, right? So if you think about standing, you're on like a nature hike, right? You're standing at a lake and it's very calm and peaceful. There's no wind, there's no rain, and you are looking at the reflection in the lake. And you can describe it clearly, right? Because there's nothing disrupting the reflection, right? So you're describing it. There's the mountains and the flowers. It's beautiful. Yay. And then some wind comes and the rain starts to pick up, right? And you can't see the reflection as clearly. And if it's really bad, you might not be able to see it at all. This is a great analogy for our mind. Our mind, by default, normally is like the still lake. Very calm, very peaceful, reasonable, collected, not stressed, right? Kind of can tackle our problems reasonably. All of the distractions, anxieties, all those bombardment of thoughts that are going around in our mind all day long, they're like raindrops, and they're making it difficult for us to see this peacefulness that we have in us, right? It's obscuring the reflection on the lake, so to speak, right? So our goal with breathing meditation, which is our first kind of foray into meditation, is to remove some of these raindrops that are obscuring the reflection on the lake, right? Sound good? So the way we're going to do this is by breathing meditation, and it's formally called single-pointed concentration, which is very fancy. Throw that out at a party, see what people say. All that means is we're focusing on one thing, right? So what are we not doing if we're focusing on one thing? We are not multitasking. That's hard. All right. We are trained to multitask, right? Everything we do is multitasking all day long, right? And so sometimes when we're like, hey, I'm going to just focus on this one thing, our mind's like, no, you're not, right? And it'll start to bounce into different directions, right? So our goal with meditation is to make this choice. We're going to focus on one thing. We're going to focus on our breath. Right? And when we notice that our mind is trying to go think about something else, maybe something that somebody said to you last week, or something you got coming up later, we're just going to be like, no, I'm focusing on my breath right now. We're going to bring our attention back to just that, focusing on our breath. This routine of choosing to focus on our breath, noticing when our mind has drifted, and being able to bring it back, that is meditation. A lot of times people think meditation is just not thinking about anything, right? That's not possible. Your mind is designed to think. But we want to think about one thing, and we want to be able to bring our mind back to that thing when it drifts. That is meditation, right? And so what's going to happen is over time, we're focusing so much on our breath that all the other things that our mind normally is focusing on, all those worries, those anxieties, those stressful thoughts, they're going to start to fade into the background a little bit. It's very similar to if you've ever been in the zone, right? Super cliche phrase, but it's a good kind of comp for what we're doing here, right? If you ever been in the zone working on something at work, right? All the sounds of the office, you don't hear them. You lose track of time. You forget to eat lunch. People are calling you. You don't hear it, right? All those things that are normally kind of knocking for your attention, they're not there anymore. it seems like they're gone, right? The same is true with breathing meditation. That's what we're trying to do. We're trying to make those other kind of thoughts just fade away a little bit, right? Does that sound good? Does that make sense? I mean, it's pretty simple, right? From an instructional standpoint. Execution. Now, this is a little more challenging, right? Because this is not something that we're used to doing. We're not familiar with it. Just like, there was a time when we weren't familiar with driving, right? But now we can drive while doing a bunch of other stuff. We're really good at driving. We're going to become really proficient at choosing to focus on our breath, right? Starting today. This is day one for some of you. Some of you, maybe this is not day one, which is great. Welcome back. Okay, so we're going to do a breathing meditation now, right? And instructionally, very simple. We're just going to focus on our breath. When you notice your mind has drifted, say, no. Come on back. Focus on your breath again, right? It's all about catching your mind in the act of trying to divert your attention away from your breath, right? And this is a great thing to notice here, what I'm going to say right now, because this is very important to meditation, right? We don't need perfect conditions. It might be a little noisy by you. I don't know, maybe you're not in the most comfortable chair, right? Your knee hurts. That's okay, right? We don't need perfect conditions to meditate and meditate well. All we need is our breath and a little bit of patience and effort, right? Because a lot of times we're like, I gotta go retreat to a mountain to do this. No, if you had to do that, then this would be useless because we can't retreat to a mountain all the time, right? So if there's anything going on around you, it's okay. Like it's okay, right? It might divert your attention a little bit. Just bring it back. That's all. Okay. So sit comfortably. A lot of people like to sit in a chair. You can sit on the floor if that's better, more comfortable, on a cushion. If you're laying down, that's also fine. It honestly really doesn't matter where you are or what you're sitting in or what position you're in, as long as you're relatively comfortable, right? We don't want to be in agony right now, otherwise we're going to be focusing on that. It's going to be hard for us to not focus on that. So just make sure you're relatively comfortable. And then you can go ahead and close your eyes, and you're just going to follow along with what I'm saying. We're going to do about a 5-minute breathing meditation. Okay? All right. Whenever we start a meditation, the first thing we do is check in. Check in with yourself. How are you feeling right now? Are you tired? Energetic? Happy? Sad? Neutral? Whatever it is, does not matter. All that matters is you notice. Notice what your mind is up to, what your mind is doing. This is called mindfulness, a word you've heard before, I'm sure. Mindfulness is an active awareness of what your mind is up to moment, so you can skillfully respond. So just notice how you're feeling in this moment. And having done that, you can now turn your full attention to your breathing in and out of your nose, very gently, very naturally. You do not need to take big, deep inhalations or forcefully exhale. We're just breathing normally, in and out, and doing your best to follow your entire in-breath and your entire out-breath. Stay with your breathing pattern in and out, very gently, very naturally. Allow yourself to relax. Allow yourself to enjoy sitting here, breathing in and out. And at some point, you may notice your attention drifts, and it's no longer exclusively focused on your breath. This is fine. Whenever you notice that this has happened, just gently guide your attention back to breathing, back to enjoying breathing in and out, very gently, very naturally. Allow your body to relax, your shoulders to relax as you breathe in and out. Keep following each breath. Whenever you notice your attention has drifted, just gently guide it back. This process of choosing to focus on your breath, noticing when your mind has drifted to thinking about something else, and being able to bring it back to your breath is meditation. You are meditating right now. You are training your mind. You're training your mind to relax, to be calm, to be peaceful, to access its natural state of happiness. How wonderful. How wonderful that you are able to do this with nothing other than your breath. So just continue to breathe in and out very gently and naturally for a little while longer. Okay, and when you're ready, you can open your eyes. How'd that go? It's short, right? Sometimes we think that we have to meditate a really long time. It's like a common misconception with meditation. Actually, that doesn't really matter as much as consistency. So if you're looking to start a meditation routine, number one most important thing is you got to pick a situation that's going to be manageable for you to do on a regular basis, right? I don't know. Maybe you can only do 30 seconds in the morning or something before you head out to work. That's fine. That's great. Just make that your meditation routine, 30 seconds in the morning. You can do that. It doesn't have to be like an hour or anything like that. In fact, I wouldn't recommend going over 10 minutes if you're just starting because you start to get a little antsy. Right? Was that difficult? Or was that more or less difficult than you thought it would be? It's always an interesting. There's no right or wrong answer here. For some of us, it might be really difficult, right? Short, but it helps relax. Great, Hilda. Yeah. So it's short, but we can already start to see we're starting to relax, even just a little bit. We're starting to clear away some of those raindrops, right? So maybe this was challenging for you, right? Well, of course, you're not used to doing this, right? You're not familiar with sitting down and focusing only on your breath and, noticing when your mind is wandering. Like, we don't do that, right? Normally, we just let our mind do whatever it wants, right? Our mind just is in charge and we're along for the ride, right? So if this was difficult, you shouldn't really be that surprised about it, but it takes time. It's going to take a little bit of time for you to become familiar with this, right? Something I always like to mention for new meditators, if you find that your mind is seemingly busier when you meditate, it's actually you just noticing how busy your mind is all day long. How exhausting, right? That your mind is constantly trying to think about whatever it's thinking about all day long, and it just has trouble focusing, right? So this should kind of motivate us to be like, hey, I want to be in control of what I'm thinking, right? I should be able to do this, right? Margaret, bringing the mind back takes attention. Yeah. So this is, we're going to talk a lot about mindfulness today. That's kind of like a buzzword these days. But like we said in the beginning of the meditation, mindfulness is all about just having a active awareness of what your mind's doing. So like Margaret was saying, being able to notice when your mind is drifted is like really important. And that's mindfulness, right? If you're just kind of letting your mind do whatever, you're not going to notice, right? So mindfulness and meditation are intimately linked, right? We have to kind of develop our ability to notice what our mind is up to. That way we can start to dictate what we're focusing on. Really good point. Evie, I'm great. I'm glad you're relaxed. Very good. Awesome. All right. Glad everyone's doing good today. Okay. So if you have any questions on any of this, you can feel free to type in the chat. I'll put my email in the chat later. You can email me, right? Because a lot of things might come up when you're starting to meditate. Feel free to ask me any questions you have, right? That's the beauty of this live format. You can ask me, well, this doesn't make sense. Am I doing this right? So take advantage of that. So if there's any questions on breathing meditation or just meditation in general, anything that pops up, just feel free to ask. But I am going to move on to our topic today. Now, this is a good reminder for those who weren't here earlier. Today's second meditation that we're going to do is very fun, or at least I think so. I guess you'll make that determination yourself, but it involves drinking a sip of water. Okay, so make sure that you have a glass of water near you, right? Near enough to you that you don't have to get up to get it. So right next to you. So now's a good time to go square that away, right? You're such a nice and great guy. Oh, that's so sweet. Thank you. Look, meditation is fun, right? It's fun to learn, right? And that's what we're doing here. We're learning something new, and it helps our life. So amazing, right? Found it hard to stay focused. Fari said, totally normal. When's the last time you tried doing this, right? Probably not that often, right? And it just goes to show you how much we've kind of let our mind do what it wants, right? We've kind of just said, okay, you're in charge, mind. Think about whatever you want. Oh, okay. Let's think about this thing somebody said to me last week. Oh, let's worry about the project that's coming up next week. Like, our mind is in control. And so when we try to be like, you're focusing on this right now, mind's like, no, that's not happening. I'm in charge, right? So we got to reverse the roles a little bit. And this is just going to take practice. This is going to take a little patience and a little effort to retrain our mind to be okay with and actually to gravitate towards focusing on one thing instead of being all over the place. So Fari, that should be your first experience when you meditate. If not, then maybe you should be teaching the class because, it takes a little time to get used to this, right? Okay. Hopefully you have squared away the water situation. You have a tiny glass of water near you. Does not need to be a massive volume of water. That will come in handy later. I will remind everyone one more time later, just so you can participate in the drinking water mindfulness meditation that we're going to do. But first, I want to talk about the topic for today, which is kind of turning some of our routine activities into a meditative practice, right? So when we learn meditation, right, what we just did, we're sitting down, we're breathing, focusing on our breath, bringing our attention back, right? And so sometimes we can think that that's what meditation is, just that activity of sitting down and focusing on our breath, right? But meditation is really all about choosing to focus on one thing and being able to notice when your mind is not focusing on that one thing. It doesn't have to be your breath, right? Meditation is not reserved for sitting down in a chair and breathing, right? Meditation is all about training your mind to focus on what you want it to focus on, right? And there's a lot of ways that we can train our mind to do this, right? With meditation, right? So really the only requirement is that you're trying to focus on something single pointedly and then returning your attention to it when it drifts. That's it, right? That's meditation, right? So sometimes we might struggle to find time to sit down and formally meditate like we just did, right? Maybe we're really busy. We don't have time. We're late for work. We usually do it in the morning. Now I don't have time. It happens to me too. It happens to all of us, right? So learning how to transform some of our daily activities into like a meditative practice is really good at maintaining our meditative practice even when we get a little busy, right? Or sometimes, this is actually a really good segue from last week's class where we were talking about chronic pain. Sometimes when we have things like chronic pain, it's hard for us to sit down and breathe. Like we feel uncomfortable, where our mind is super focused on it, on the pain. So there are a lot of other ways we can get creative with training our mind to become familiar with the things we want it to become familiar with, right? So if we're having a little trouble with breathing meditation, we can try some of these. And if you're not having trouble with breathing meditation, add some of these in because it's just extra practice, right? Like if we're trying to run that 5K, we run twice a day, we might get there a little faster, right? So these are good examples that we can start to use to increase our meditation practice, to increase the familiarity our mind has with being peaceful, focusing on one thing, right? Transforming daily activities into meditation. Awesome. So what kind of things can we do? What kind of normal things that we do during our day? Well, how can we turn them into like a meditative practice? What about movement? This is a big one. Movement. Anyone do yoga? Any people do yoga out there? I used to do a little yoga. I broke my wrist and I have trouble doing a downward dog. So it's a little hard for me. But yoga is very popular, right? And yoga and meditation are actually very closely aligned. Why? Yoga is meditating on your movement. Kavitha, yes, I love yoga. Okay, great, right? Yeah, yoga's awesome. So in yoga, they ask you, right? Here, you're going to do these movements and you're going to focus on only doing these movements, right? They're not like, hey, do these movements and think about work. No, they want you to be single-pointedly focused on how being in this position feels, right? The movement of your body. You are focusing single-pointedly on the movement of your body. And then when you notice that your mind is elsewhere, you're bringing it back to focusing on the movement of your body. What does that sound like? It sounds like meditation because it is. Yoga is meditating using movement, right? I started to be more mindful during mundane things like during my shower, and it's really starting to help. Awesome, Kavitha. You might have been around for the last time we did this class, but we're going to talk a little bit about that too. But I'm glad that you're seeing some of the benefits there. Yoga teachers stress tuning out other thoughts and being present. Yeah. What they're telling, and basically what they're telling you is, it's hard to tune out thoughts. It's more manageable to notice when we've drifted and bring it back, right? But that's what they're telling you to do, right? They want you to be present with your movements, single-pointedly focused on your movements. And what happens? You start to relax, right? It's the same concept as breathing meditation. So we can use movement instead of just sitting down and breathing if that works better for you, right? This is sometimes called walking meditation, right? It doesn't have to be yoga. Like it can be something as simple as walking, right? So let's say we're walking down the street, right? When we're walking down the street, usually we're thinking about a bunch of different things, right? What if we just we made a choice? When I walked from here to the store, I'm going to, or the parking lot to the front door of the store, I'm going to focus on how my feet feel as they hit the pavement, right? And I'm going to only think about how my feet feel as they hit the pavement. And when I notice my mind trying to think about something else, I'm going to be like, nope. And I'm going to bring it back to focusing on how my feet feel hitting the pavement. That's meditation, right? You're choosing to focus on something single pointedly. You're noticing when your mind has drifted. You're bringing your mind back to focusing on the thing you chose to focus on. That's meditation. You're training your mind to focus on something single pointedly, which kind of brings about a level of presence and peacefulness. So we can kind of get creative, right? That's cool. You guys can do that. Next time you're walking to the store, it's a good one, right? If you have a lunch break or something, I don't know, go walk to get some food or something like that, right? There's a lot of opportunities we have, right? Walking from your car to work, maybe. It also doesn't have to be walking, right? There's a lot of other movements that we can do. So like maybe we're sitting at our desk at work, right? How do my feet feel on the floor? I'm going to focus on how my feet feel on the floor for 30 seconds, right? And then when I notice that my mind's like, hey, no, you got to work on that project. I'm going to be like, no, hold on a second. I'm focusing on my feet, right? Same thing. How do your arms feel as you kind of lift them up, right? We do this all day long. We're like lifting things, we're moving our arms, but we're not really thinking about it. We're not thinking about, hey, that's weird. Like my shoulder is kind of getting tense as I pull my arm up. Oh, now it's kind of relaxing, right? So these are different ways we can start to train in focusing, which is, what meditation is all about. We're learning to be present. We're learning to choose to be present with something, which is very important. Right? It's very important for finding joy in things, right? It's one of the beauties of being more present. We start to find interest and joy in little things that we normally wouldn't find joy or interest in. Nice and simple advice to focus on the feeling of your feet. Yeah, like we can get as simple, and it should be simple. We can get really simple with it, and it's literally just as effective as breathing meditation. Right? Cool. What about some other things? So we covered movement. That's a big one. That's sometimes called mindful walking. If you ever see that being thrown around. What about using our senses, right? What about mindful eating, taste? That's what we're going to do today. Right? What do you think about when you're eating? It's kind of a weird thing to kind of ponder. You're normally not thinking about eating. You're normally thinking about like everything other than eating. I know when I'm like eating breakfast or something like that, I'm thinking about what I'm going to do for the day, right? I'm not focusing on eating. I'm focusing on something else. My body's eating, but my mind is not eating. My mind is elsewhere, right? So what if we could transform one of our meals into like a meditative practice? What if for breakfast we focus, let's say I'm eating a banana or like an apple or a piece of fruit. I'm trying to do something healthy. What if I focused on how the sound of biting into the apple, right? And is it cool on my teeth, right? Is it hard to chew? Like we're really plug into what it feels like to eat an apple. And when your mind is like, hey, worry about work, you're like, no, I'm eating this apple. Mindful eating is a really great way to practice meditation because you eat every day. So you might as well turn it into an awesome practice, right? Hold on, let me catch up on some comments. Margaret, painting and weeding the garden has been meditative. Absolutely. Painting and gardening are great examples, right? Now, there's probably been times that you've been painting and you're worried about something, right? You're not like totally plugged into painting. What happens? We're like not really enjoying painting, right? But there's been times where we're so plugged into painting that all the other kind of nonsense that's going around us, it's like it's gone for a little while, right? So we can turn painting or gardening or anything into a meditative practice, right? I'm getting the garden ready myself. So gardening is a good one for me. Dreaming, lucid dreaming. My wife has recently told me about how great it can be. Yeah, lucid dreaming is really interesting, right? In fact, dreaming and meditation are very interesting. It's very interesting how closely aligned they can be. We talked a little bit about this last week with chronic pain, right? So if you want to hear a little bit of like the kind of dreaming meditation stuff, I would check that one out. Hilda, drinking our coffee in the morning. Oh yeah, right? When we're drinking our coffee in the morning, we are almost always thinking about the next thing, right? What if we just took that? It doesn't have to be the whole cup of coffee. It can just be a couple sips. Like, I'm going to just totally plug into what it feels like to drink this sip of coffee. We're going to do a drinking meditation with water. You know, maybe for Margaret, she's ready to have her coffee. It's nighttime here. I'm not having coffee, so we're going to use water. All right. Luke, that's an amazing idea in regards to eating. Yeah. So eating, the mindful eating and mindful kind of drinking are very common. Ones to pick. That and movement, I think, are probably the most common. But they're really good. And look, it doesn't have to be every meal. You know, just pick one little snack. Okay, Kavitha, I've been trying intuitive eating. And this is the basis of that. Really being in the moment and enjoying food for what it is and being aware of body signals. Yeah, that is a description of what I would call mindful eating. And a lot can come from that, right? Even stuff that, you know, you might not be thinking about, like, hey, you know, you're really plugged into this food. You're like, how many people were involved in getting this apple to me? Oh, a bunch of people planted the tree, they tended to it, they shipped it. Like, hey, I'm kind of grateful for all the work that they put in to get me this apple. Like, so now we're starting to have thoughts of gratitude for others, all by just choosing to be totally focused and plugged in to eating this apple. A lot of benefits that can come from doing this. From what I understand, mindful eating is also great for digestion. I love this concept you're introducing. Food for thought. Ooh, Margaret with the puns. I am not a gastro expert, so I do not know if it's good for digestion, but heck, if that's true, it's just another great reason to do this. Awesome. You feel more full when you eat mindfully. That's interesting. I wonder if it's because you're slowing down too. Right? Sometimes we eat so fast. I eat very fast. Sometimes we eat so fast that we're like eating more than we probably need to, maybe. So like being mindful about it, we slow down. We're appreciating each bite. Really good stuff. Even when I think I have a slight headache, I think, why is my head hurting? As I never have a headache, right? Well, honestly, that's a good thing to notice. Like, you start to think, oh, I have a headache right now. That's like kind of an exercise in mindfulness, really, right? Think about if you never noticed that you had a headache, right? So like, it's good practice to notice you have a headache. Okay. So that's eating or taste. Like we're going to go through the senses, all right? So that's taste, all right? We're going to do drinking water meditation. So make sure you have water. In a little bit, we're going to do it. Like 5 minutes. Okay. What about smell? Using your nose. What about like we're outside or let's use walking again, right? Maybe you're walking. You don't want to do a walking meditation. What about smelling what the air smells like? Air kind of has a smell. Different depending on where we live, I guess. But like, what if for this walk from our car to the door of the store, we just focus exclusively on what the air smells like to us, and then bringing our attention back to that when it drifts, right? Aroma. That's a good one. Aroma. Yeah. What's the aroma of the air? I guess is what I'm saying. Or like a candle. That's a really good one. Sometimes we put on candles, right, to kind of relax, right? Well, what if we like candles, what if you put on this candle and then for the next minute, I'm going to focus on the aroma of this candle. I'm going to really plug into how this candle smells. And whenever my attention drifts and starts to think about anything else, I'm going to be like, nope, I am just smelling this candle in this moment, very kind of relaxed, right? We're turning having a candle lit into a meditative practice. We're turning it into training our mind. How awesome, right? Margaret, you should not use devices, etc. while eating because the signal that your tummy is full takes longer to get to your brain. Whoa, I had not put that together. I'm gonna put my devices away for eating. That's a good tip. So smelling a candle, the smell of food cooking, right? So, okay, maybe we're not like, the mindful eating's not for me. What about the way food smells, right? The way, you prepare this meal. Just take 30 seconds and just focus on how it smells, right? So smell using our nose can be a very meditative practice if we want it to, right? What about listening using our ears, right? What about listening to music? This is a good one, right? So a lot of times people listen to music while they do breathing meditation, right? You've probably heard of that. That can be helpful if you have a very noisy house or something like that, right? But what's happening is like the music's on, but you're not like meditating on the music, right? So we can actually meditate on music. So like you put on a song, right? What if you really plugged into that song? Like everything else is just kind of gone. You're just totally focused on that song, thinking about like, oh, it's like interesting. They chose to do this note, and like, oh, these lyrics are so and so, right? We're really plugged into the song, right? And then when we notice that our mind's like thinking about something else, we're like, no, I am listening to this song, right? Focus on one instrument that comes and goes in the song. That's a great idea. Great idea, right? To be like, oh, I'm just going to listen to this song and really pay attention to the drums, right? Or this time I'm going to listen to this song and I'm going to pay attention to the guitar or the violin, right? That's a great idea. That's a great example. Listening to the birds or waves. If you go to the beach, yep, absolutely. Sounds outside are wonderful, especially like if we're, taking a walk or we're on a hike. This is a really good one if we're on a hike or something like that, right? Listening to the sounds, the birds chirping, right? Like listen to this. Oh, that's a high pitch sound from that bird. Oh, that's a little lower. Oh, I think that's two of them, right? These are things that are always happening on our walk, right? And they're quite enjoyable if we kind of really notice them. They're always there, but we never notice them because we're thinking about something else. So this is all about choosing to think about those things and then finding some joy in them, right? Appreciating them, right? Good. Dorothy, great suggestion. Kavitha, I got a good tip to pick a color. And then when you walk outside, try to find things with that color. That's kind of cool. That's a cool one. I like that. Yeah, that's really cool. Love it. To be totally plugged in to sight. That's the next one, right? So noticing colors, right? Noticing the colors of the trees or colors around you or watching a bird fly. I remember I had an experience doing this when I was on a hike one time. I came across, right? This bird was kind of perched in the tree and we just kind of stopped, right? And I was just looking at this bird, right? And I'm like, oh, wow, I love the colors of this bird. And then the bird flew and I was watching the bird fly. And like, I felt like I was in a trance watching this bird fly and it was just like mesmerizing to me, right? I was meditating on the movement of this bird, meditating on watching this bird, right? If you are moving and focusing on that, is it not dangerous when you need to be aware for safety's sake? Yes, Margaret, thank you very much for bringing that up, right? If you are going to do a walking meditation or something like this, please do make sure that you're not just kind of going into the middle of the street. All right, we have to make sure that we're being safe, so make sure you're picking an appropriate location. Thank you. Good disclaimer for walking meditation. Have you ever paid attention to how the squirrel plays and run behind one another? Yeah, great example, Magdalena. Yeah, you ever watch two squirrels like playing? It's like crazy. It's mesmerizing. They're jumping from branch to branch. They're so fast. They're staying in sync. It's mesmerizing. That's happening all the time, but we rarely notice it. Yeah, really good one. Really cool. Okay. And then the last kind of one I wanted to talk about today was touch, right? Tactile, how things feel sensation wise, right? So somebody said showering earlier. Good one, right? Showering. It's where we do all our best thinking, right? It's where we do all of our best thinking about everything, but not showering. If you ever shower, have you ever once in your life showered and focused on showering? I have not. I'm always thinking about something else when I'm showering, all right? Well, what if we, when we took our shower, said, you know what, for this 5 minutes or 10 minutes or whatever, how long we're in there for, I'm going to focus on how the water feels as it hits my skin. I'm going to focus on how my fingers feel as they rub the shampoo into my scalp, right? I'm just going to notice this. And then when I kind of catch myself drifting and thinking about something else, I'm going to bring it back to focusing on that. We can turn showering into a beautiful meditative practice, right? A practice of being present. And what happens is we're like, man, the shower is awesome, right? The shower is always awesome, right? We just don't always notice it because we're elsewhere. Mind is elsewhere. Petting the dog or cat, great one, right? So maybe we have a dog or a cat, right? Sometimes we just kind of like mindlessly pet the dog or the cat while we're watching TV or something. We're like, you know what? I'm going to pet my dog and really focus on how the hair feels against my skin as I pet him. We're turning petting our dog into a meditative practice. And I bet your dog will love it. So everyone wins. It's a good one, right? Brushing your teeth is another good one that I often recommend, right? Because normally when we're brushing our teeth, we're thinking about other stuff, right? Brushing your teeth can be a really kind of meditative practice if we want it to be. How the bristles feel, the sound that the brush is making on my teeth, like how do my gums feel? Like all these things we can focus on. We can choose to focus on, right? Turning brushing our teeth, something we do every day, into a beneficial practice to us. Can you be present and mindful but not necessarily meditating? I guess yes. In a way, but they're kind of like the same thing, right? So meditation is basically analogous to familiarization. And you become familiar with something by routinely plugging into it, like being present with it. So they're really kind of intimately linked, right? But I would, I don't know. It's a really good question. I kind of think they're the same in my opinion. And everyone will probably have a different opinion about this. But if you are truly present with something, and only you can really determine if you're truly present with something, you're kind of meditating on it in a way, right? Because you're single-pointedly focused on it. That's what meditation is. So if you're truly present with something, that means you're single-pointedly focused on it. Now, sometimes we think we're present with something, but our mind is elsewhere, or our mind is constantly being pulled, right? So again, we have to train in this, but only you can really know if you're truly present. But it's a really good question. I kind of think they're the same. I consider them to be very similar, but maybe others wouldn't. But amazing question. Really, really good. So we touched tactile. There's a million things we could do. Touching our keyboard while we type something at work. That's a good way to look busy at work. Right? Oh, I'm typing this email. I'm actually meditating. I'm training my mind to be peaceful and relaxed. They got no idea. What about guided meditations? The kind where you imagine a place like a field and fill in the details in your head. Is that also meditation or not really? Yeah, totally. Yeah. As long as you're single-pointedly focused on the image. We do image meditations here all the time. Kavitha, the mountain meditation. We did that where we're picturing the mountain. That's exactly what you're describing. That's meditation. As long as you're single-pointedly focused on, there's the theme for the day. As long as you're single-pointedly focused on something, right, and bringing your attention back to it when it drifts, you're meditating. You're training your mind. Good. Like the mountain. Yeah, Hilda, exactly. Yeah, it's great. Great example. Okay. It could be they never made that connection. Yeah, that's just image. We're basically meditating on an image. With breathing meditation, we're meditating on our breath. If we're doing a walking meditation, we're meditating on walking, right? It's called, if you want to get fancy about it, it's choosing your meditation object. What is the object of your meditation? Is it your breath? Is it this image? Is it your feet as they walk, right? It's up to you. We can do a bunch. All right, cool. So just kind of to recap, in all these cases we talked about, the only requirement is that you are intentionally choosing to focus on this thing, right? Whether it be the walking meditation or listening to a song, right? You're intentionally, single-pointedly focused on this thing, and you're bringing your attention back when it drifts. And that is you training your mind in meditation. That will help you become, that will help breathing meditation come more naturally, because your mind is like, oh, you want to focus on one thing. We've been doing that with the old brushing the teeth, right? Right now, your mind's like, I don't know, I'm not focusing on one thing. What is the matter with you? I'm focusing on a million things. All right. So we're going to train it any way we can. Good? Good. I hope. Was that cool? I love this. I love this class because this is super practical for our lives. All right. Even if we think we don't have time to sit down and meditate, you probably do. But you wanted to, right? But even if we don't, we could turn any one of our activities that we normally do into meditation, right? Just got to get creative with it. Okay, I want to do a drinking water meditation. Okay, mindful drinking. Do you have your glass of water? This is the last reminder. Otherwise, you're not going to be participating. All right, so if you have your glass of water, great. If you don't, run into the kitchen and get one. Just get hydrated. Okay? So how is this going to work? All right? We're going to start by doing a little breathing meditation, just to kind of relax our mind a little bit. And then I am going to guide us through a mindful drinking meditation. And essentially what we're going to do is we're going to totally plug into drinking a sip of water. Something that we do all day long that we might not like. We don't find the kind of joy in drinking a glass of water all the time because our mind is elsewhere. Well, we're going to find some joy in drinking a glass of water. Dorothy's ready. Let's do this. I love you guys. You guys are so fun. Okay. So sit comfortably. Have your water at the ready. Oh, man. Really glad I remembered to mention this. Now, while we're meditating, I'm eventually going to be like, okay, we're going to do the drinking water meditation right now. You can open your eyes to pick up the glass of water. Okay. I don't need anyone spilling water all over their computer or anything, right? If you need to open your eyes to find the glass of water, that's cool. That's fine. All right. I don't want any problems. Oh, darn, that's so sweet. Thank you. Okay. So that's just a good little disclaimer there. All right. So sit comfortably. If you were not that comfortable in your last kind of breathing meditation, right? Maybe swap to a better chair, a little more comfortable, or maybe try laying down or something like that. Maybe laying down is not action. And then we're going to do a meditation on drinking water. Okay? Great. Let's once again just check in with ourselves. How are you feeling now? Any different than before? The same? Doesn't matter. Just notice. Just notice what your mind is doing. And having checked in, you can turn your attention once again to your breathing. In and out of your nose, very gently, very naturally. See if you can follow each breath in its entirety. See if you can follow each breath out in its entirety. See if you can be single-pointedly focused on your breath as you breathe in and out very gently, very naturally. And if you notice your mind has drifted, just gently guide it back. Guide it back to your breath. Make a choice to focus on breathing in and out. Allow yourself to relax into your breath. When we're single-pointedly focused on something, we start to notice some things about that activity that we may have not noticed before. So as you're breathing, maybe you're starting to notice the temperature of the air as you breathe in and out. The air feels a little cooler on the tip of your nose as you breathe in. And it feels a bit warmer as you breathe out. How interesting. Maybe you notice your shoulders rising and falling with each breath. Your whole body moving. Your whole body participating as you breathe in and out. You are starting to notice some of the little joys that come with breathing. You are starting to enjoy breathing itself. How wonderful. Meditation can be linked with any activity. One of those is what's called mindful eating or mindful drinking. What if we could really plug in to drinking a sip of water? Would we enjoy it more? Would we find some interesting things about drinking water that we hadn't before? That's what we're going to do today. We're going to do a mindful drinking with our water. So if you have your glass of water near you, I'd like you to pick it up. Just pick it up. What does this glass of water feel like in your hand? Is it cool to the touch? Warm? What does the container it's in feel like? Is it plastic? Glass? Smooth? Rough? Just notice what it feels like to hold a glass of water. Now you can bring that glass of water up to your nose and smell the water. What does this water smell like? Can you sense the coolness of the water's temperature with your nose? Can you smell some of the material of the container that's holding it? What does this glass of water smell like to you? Now I'd like you to go ahead and take a sip of water, but do not swallow it. Just let the water sit in your mouth. What does this water feel like in your mouth? Does it feel smooth? Is it moving effortlessly between your teeth, against your tongue? Is your body reacting to the coolness or the temperature of the water in your mouth? You can go ahead and swallow that sip of water. Then take another sip and swallow it, and plug into what it feels like as you're swallowing this glass of water. Can you sense the temperature of the water as it moves down your throat? What does swallowing this water feel like? What are you noticing? We can turn any activity into meditation, whether it's drinking water, eating food, brushing our teeth. Literally every activity can have purpose. We can use the things we're already doing in our lives to help train our mind, to be comfortable and look forward to focusing on one thing. Really plug in, be present. And one of the byproducts of doing this is our mind starts to find little joys in the things that we're doing. Simple activities become filled with joy. Something as simple as drinking a sip of water is fascinating. How wonderful would it be if every moment of our life was like that? You can do that. Okay, and when you're ready, you can open your eyes. How'd that go? Anyone spill water on themselves? Hopefully that went okay. I really like that one. I don't know. Did anyone find that there was they're noticing anything interesting about drinking water? Very cool. All right, cool. Glad you liked it. Yeah, so sometimes when I will do these, I'll just plug into one thing. I'll be like, man, yeah, it's so cool how the water smells, right? But these are things that those things are always there, right? We just don't notice them, right? Those kind of little joys, they are always there. We can choose to notice them. Cool? Liked it. Margaret, multiple sensations. Yeah, a lot going on. Kavitha, oh yeah, totally noticed that water has an actual taste to it. Oh, that's a really great one. People are like, water doesn't taste like anything, right? It does if you're really thinking about it. It has a taste, right? Maybe hard to describe. Toshida, the smell. Yeah. So water, the way water smells is a really good one. It's one, like you said, they might not notice, right? But water has a smell, and it can be kind of pleasant to smell it, right? I noticed the parts of the throat that the water was going through. Hilda, great one. yeah, like we're swallowing water all day long. Our body is like doing a million things, right? And now we're like, I'm going to pay attention to what my body feels like as I'm swallowing water, right? Magdalena, smell the minerals of it. Oh, cool. Yeah. Crystal, Crystal, hey, how you doing? My tongue was swimming around in the water. I never felt like that before. Oh, very cool. That's a great image, right? Yeah, normally we're not paying attention to like this kind of cool liquidy sensation of the water in my mouth. We're just like, that's awesome. Joseph, so this is all about sensory. Yeah. Try this with other things. Yeah, it's a great idea. We can try this with eating and drinking different things, Hey, maybe it's Friday night. You're going to have a glass of wine or something like that. Hey, you do a little mindful wine drinking. Dorothy, you loved it. Great. I'm glad. Fari, never noticed how the cool glass feels like. Yeah. So that's like the tactile sensation of water, right? Like, wow, the glass feels super cold with this water in it, right? So sometimes we're like, hey, this water's cold, right? But we're like, it's like just a fleeting thing. We're like super plugged into it. Very cool. Very cool. Alan, so yummy. I so want to swallow the water before you told us to. Yes, it's also an exercise in patience and restraint. Great. Yeah. I have a distinct memory of this where I was on a plane and I was like, I'm going to do drinking water. It actually wasn't water. I think I had a soda, like a seltzer or something like that. I'm like, I'm going to drink this seltzer but I'm going to do it like mindfully. Right. And honestly, I just, everything about it was so awesome. The bubbles, like I was leaving the water in my mouth, that like bubble. I was like, this is incredible. I'm like, this is so awesome. I was having such a blast with drinking this thing of water, of seltzer water. Healthy soda, right? All right. All right. I'm glad that you guys enjoyed this. This is one of my favorites. Crystal, so I guess if I'm mindful eating tonight, I don't get to have the TV on, do I? You can have the TV on, Crystal, but you know what? Be like, hey, during this commercial break, all right, I'm going to mute it and I'm going to focus on eating this food. You can it doesn't have to be an entire eating session of mindfulness. Just weave it in there. Something manageable for you, all right? Then you get right back to your show. I just started Peaky Blinders, so that's what I'm doing. All right. If you guys enjoyed this, I'm glad. Thank you for being here. I love teaching these classes. Hopefully you found it interesting or helpful or relaxing, empowering, any and all of those things. Great. Thank you for being here. If you want to subscribe to my YouTube channel, that would be awesome for me. It lets YouTube know like, hey, people are kind of digging this. Comes up better in search for me. So that'd be cool. And guess what? Works for you too. You get notified when I'm going live. Because if you forget on a Wednesday because you're busy, you might be like, oh, there's Keith. Let's go meditate, right? So you can do that if you want. And if you're like totally into this, I do one-on-one instruction. So if that is something that is interesting to you, just email me. I'm putting my email in the chat now. It's keith@meditationbreaks.com. I'm getting good at writing that. Just email me. We'll find a time that's good for you. I do it over Zoom. So pretty low key. I'm a pretty low key guy, as you may have noticed. So that's available to you if you want to do that. Let me catch up. Woo! A lot going on. Awesome and so necessary, Keith. Thanks, Ellen. Yeah, this is a great one. Super practical. Kyle, thank you. I just started joining last week and find your style very relaxing. It's helping me to learn more and be calm and mindful, which I greatly need. Kyle, thank you so much. Yeah, meditation is not some like out there thing. It's literally just choosing to focus your mind on something. And there's a lot of different ways we can start to do that. So I'm glad you've been enjoying it. Thank you, everybody. A lot of thanks here. A lot of love. Oh, Vix, thanks for being here. I appreciate it. Great to see you again. And Nancy, nice hat. Thanks. This is from one of the ski mountains that I frequent. Thank you. I appreciate that. Crystal, you're watching last week's on chronic pain now. Oh, great plug. Thank you. Yeah, that was a good one. That's it. That's an interesting one. A lot. Chronic pain is a very common thing for people to get into meditation for. Jeeps. Good to see you, my friend. Thank you for being here. Thank you all you guys. It's such like an awesome community of people here. And hopefully you're benefiting from it. I certainly am. I love being here every Wednesday, and I'll be here next Wednesday, and I hope you will be too. Thank you. Have a great time drinking water in a lovely, mindful way. Take care, everyone.